I'm Connor Rothrop, and I'm joined by MMA prospect Matt Dixon. How are you, Matt?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. And now, obviously, before we start recording, we were talking about this kind of pandemic, but luckily for you, you fought in early March, not that long ago. How have you kind of been like handling this pandemic, and what's your current situation?
Honestly, I haven't missed a beat. My training's gone great. Like you said, I fought right before the lockdown happened. So fortunately, I needed to rest up anyways. And so just within a few weeks, everything kind of went nuts. So yeah, it's been a good situation. I've been able to get right back to training. I have, a good gym. Obviously, I don't have my training partners there and all that good stuff, but it's been much better than it could be.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel fortunate in that sense too that you did get to fight so early? So where a lot of guys kind of maybe are itching to get back in there, it's like you said, you kind of had to recover and take that time.
Yeah, honestly, I'm ready to get back in there. I was hoping to fight in May, but obviously now it's looking like it may be June, July, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely fortunate because I want to say it was the last LFA card that they have, I believe. So whenever I competed on that one, it was pretty quick after that they started canceling all the shows. So I'm definitely blessed.
Yeah. And I know like during this pandemic, a lot of people are like watching different things and using their time in different ways. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about, just and this is all like curiosity too, is just being from Oklahoma too, and with the Tiger King thing blowing up. Like, how much did you like know about this guy like before that show came out? Like, did you see it too?
Yeah, what's wild about it is I watched the first two episodes, and then after that, I was just like, man, I can't watch anymore. I'm not a big TV watcher anymore, anyways. But it was a really interesting documentary. So we got another guy called Safari Joe's out here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's a water park. There's a lot of different areas where they have exotic animals, tigers, lions, all that craziness. And I have no idea if they're affiliated or anything like that. I had never heard of Joe Exotic, but I was pretty sure that this was the same guy.
Oh, okay.
It looked like the same, same setup, and it was just wild. It was mind blowing because it just blew up so fast.
Yeah. Because I know that I think it was one of the things I saw recently in the news too, is like when they started opening up more things in Oklahoma, they actually opened up that zoo, and like it was like they couldn't even like take care of everything that was going on because there's so many people. Because I mean, obviously, like these people are like celebrities now.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
really insane.
But yeah, that was just like something I kind of wanted to bring up. But the fact too that you've been to Oklahoma, you've been to Oklahoma and you fought, most of your career for XFN too. What made you kind of branch out and go to LFA? What was kind of the reason?
So it was a wild little situation. So when we were fighting in XFN, I want to say September of last year, we had this crazy falling out where literally the guy backed out within hours of us being able to fight on the main event for a UFC Fight Pass card. And so, when that had happened, I was just like, man, I just want to make sure that this next fight that I have happens. It was just a crazy time for me, to tell you the truth, inside and mainly outside of the cage. So, it was just one of those things. And I like to challenge myself. My last fight, obviously, man, it was Justin's hometown. So
Yeah.
Justin Patterson. But it was one of those things. I like to challenge myself. I don't have any problem fighting for XFN or fighting back here in Tulsa. So if we do that again in the future or anything like that, I'm open to it. As of right now, with the coronavirus and all that craziness going on, it's a little bit difficult
Yeah.
to be too picky. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever like fight for XFN too? Like, did you ever have a problem like that beforehand, where like a guy backed out? Like, was this the first occurrence of that?
As an amateur, I did. I had a situation where literally I thought I was going to be fighting the guy, and I guess there was some, miscommunication as far as what weight we were going to be fighting at. And when that happened, the guy just dipped out literally the day of the fight, and so I was left again. hanging. And, when it's in Tulsa, the problem with it, getting canceled like that is that the amount of tickets that I'm selling, when that happens and everybody bought tickets and it's just one of those big deals like that, you let a lot of people down. And obviously, if they're not getting refunds for that or anything like that, then there's going to be a lot of people that are mad with me, mad with the promotion and all of that stuff. So, that was another big reason for me to want to fight for LFA this past time.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of guys that fight for LFA, they go on to, big things too. I mean, what was kind of your experience too? I mean, I know you said it was Patterson's backyard, but just like as far as like promotion wise too, just like what was the experience kind of lead up to the fight?
It was good. They do a really professional job in and outside of the cage. It was very smooth. The gloves, how they get you the gloves, how they communicate before the fight, just weeks leading up to the fight, everything is done pretty orderly. And so that's a refreshing thing. It's very professional. I liked how they talked to me, and there wasn't any, obviously I was going to fight this guy in his hometown. I know Pat Miletich got a little biased whenever he was commentating, but other than that, I mean, there was just it was pretty unbiased even in his hometown. And during the fight, I remember hearing the crowd, start to cheer for me as well too. So it was a good situation.
Yeah. How do you feel like you handled that whole situation too? Like going down there, fighting for a bigger promotion, with I mean, probably more eyes on you too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was honestly one of the best experiences for me. And honestly, that's one of the fights that I'm actually most proud of, just because of what actually happened outside of the cage leading up to that fight. It was a wild situation. And I really became a man during that training camp. I had a terrible just series of events that were out of my control happen to me leading up to that fight. And so, and I don't make any excuses regardless of all that, but it was, one of those things just to get in there and to fight and to do it in his hometown and to still be able to perform and to eat those shots and still move forward. It was something that I proved to myself, and it's something that I'm actually really proud of.
Yeah, and obviously, you had an 8-0 record going into that fight, but were you surprised that you were like, just put on the co-main event right away?
No, I wasn't surprised, man. Honestly, I don't think too far into those things. I don't, feel entitled to any of those main event slots or co-main event slots. But, I had fought, as far as an amateur all the way up to a professional, and they, whatever card I was on, I always worked my way up to the main event. And so that's the way that my mind rolls. I want to be the main event. I want to put on a show, and I want to entertain the people. So I thought that that's what they would want.
Yeah. And obviously, a lot of those like UFC Fight Pass broadcasts too, a lot of them have talked about how, you've had chances to be on Contender Series and have had calls up to UFCs and kind of turn those down. Why turn, those opportunities down?
Well, so mainly it was just the timing of it. I actually just signed with a new management company, Paradigm Sports Management. Beforehand, I had talked to a lot of really good management companies and all of that good thing, that type of stuff. But, it just wasn't the right fit for me at the time. And, there was a lot of opportunities to get to the Contender Series through those companies as well as just on our own. And many times when we got the opportunities, we were already contracted to fight.
Locally. Okay.
And so that was the main situation of why we couldn't take those fights, whether it was a Contender Series or an actual UFC card.
Yeah. And just going off that too, I mean, do you feel like, especially with the way, things have been going for you recently too, do you feel like it's almost like inevitable that a chance like that comes up? Like, how much did you think about when all this was happening? Like, oh, will I get that chance again?
I always think that I'll have that chance. And honestly, to tell you the truth, man, I'm thinking about my overall athletic development. When I watch guys that I really look up to, the Israel Adesanyas of the sport, you look at his career, man, he had a long, extended career outside of the UFC before he ever stepped inside the cage, and he's also with Paradigm Sports. But outside of that, I just was a fan of his. And so, watching guys and seeing how guys got chewed up and spit out in the UFC. And all of that being said, I want to make sure that I'm more than ready whenever I step inside the octagon.
Yeah. Is that something you've seen a lot of too? Just, I mean, maybe not even just like, your camps and with your teammates, but have you seen a lot of guys kind of like rush to get to, these bigger promotions too fast?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, you know, every that's the question I get, every day, to tell you the truth. And, it's one of those things. I mean, I understand the excitement of it. I've been watching the UFC since I was a kid. It's a phenomenal sport, and the UFC is the place to be. And I'm very excited about that. But I try not to allow my emotions get tied up with the business, and I want to make sure that, like I said earlier, that I'm more than prepared whenever I step inside there. And, I'm 24, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's one of those things. You've got a guy, I mean, I know I met Sage Northcutt down in Houston whenever I was living out there. And he's a good example of a guy that got thrown right in there, got a lot of experience, and I think some of the injuries that he took could have been avoided,
Yeah.
But at the same time, not to throw him under the bus. He's a great dude, fantastic person, and I hope nothing but the best for him in his career. But just to use that as an example, there's a lot of athletes that I feel like are thrown into the spotlight maybe a little bit soon.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, like you said, you're 24 years old. I mean, do you feel like you're kind of like mature for your age to have that kind of thought process?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think of that too much, to tell you the truth. I would say that I definitely want to use a lot more reasoning than the average 24-year-old. But outside of that, man, I do wild stuff. I'm an adventure kind of guy. You know what I mean? I like to scuba dive. I like to go and do stuff that's probably not the safest. But to tell you the truth, yeah, I would say when it comes to what I've invested my entire life in, I want to make sure that I really do everything well thought out.
Yeah. And now, obviously, there's a lot unknown too with like the coronavirus and everything. But with the way the UFC is going and kind of pushing through, I mean, they've had 2 events already, and another one on Saturday. It seems like it's almost like inevitable that Contender Series will be back. I mean, how likely do you think that is that maybe you could land a spot on that?
I think that it's very likely. Honestly, I have no idea what that might look like or where we're going to, be fighting at, or, if that's going to, I don't know if they're planning on doing the Contender Series on the Fight Island or, the, UFC Performance Institute or where. So honestly, right now, all that's up in the air.
Yeah. And you were talking about earlier too, like different situations and timing too. Like if say Contender Series was on Fight Island or something, is that something you'd be open to?
I think that would be really cool. Everybody's talking about it. It's like Enter the Dragon on this Fight Island, and it would be an amazing thing. So it would be really cool to be a part of that history.
Yeah. What is your take too? Like personally, like would you fight on like one of these cards too? Like say if you were already in the UFC, like are you comfortable like fighting in a time like this?
Absolutely. I try to definitely keep my immune system strong just year round, and to tell you the truth, I take all the extra precautions that I got to do to, be safe. But the UFC's done a phenomenal job. I've been watching them, hold these shows, and I've been talking to some people that have been a part of the events that they've had so far, and it sounds like they're doing a really good job of keeping the fighters safe. It's looking like they're doing a good thing right now. They're bringing sports back, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, and then that's pretty much it for my questions. Anything that maybe we didn't touch on that thought we might?
Man, I'm sure there's going to be something that I'll think of in an hour or so, or maybe tonight whenever I'm getting ready to go to sleep. But no, man, those were phenomenal questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Actually, I did think of one more too, though. Just as far as the Contender Series too, I mean, have you heard anything about maybe from your management that you could get the call?
Yeah. So they were just, I want to say, talking about it back in what was that? Was it in March? I want to say in March they ran it past me. They said that they believe that it's going to happen, but I don't even know if they're going to be having it for sure
Yeah.
anymore. You know, so to tell you the truth, I really don't know.
Yeah. And was that like right after the Patterson fight that you heard that?
Yes, yeah, it was maybe 2 weeks after, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like right whenever everything really hit, every place, everywhere started just shutting down and
Yeah.
all of that. That's whenever we were in talks. I'm not sure exactly who they were in talks with the UFC, but when that UFC London card got shut down, we were in talks about potentially stepping in. So, there's definitely been the talk. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely see.
All right. Well, I hope that, talk turns into a phone call for you. I wish you the best, and thanks for taking your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.